Officials in Thailand say the children's football team, trapped deep in a flooded cave system, are now in good enough health to be moved. There'll be no attempts to rescue them today, but plans to get the boys out are now being rehearsed. The situation's complicated by the fact that many of the boys can't swim. Bill Whitehouse of the British Cave Rescue Council warns it could be a difficult and potentially risky operation.
Children do learn to dive, so there isn't a problem with that in itself, I wouldn't have said. But the conditions that they would be expected to do it in could be, well, they are extreme. And whether they would be able to do that, because you've got to think of what mental state they're going to be in, and you would not want one of them to panic halfway through, because that could be disastrous.
Meanwhile, more heavy rain is forecast, which could see water levels rise and threaten the air pocket in the cave where the group has taken refuge. Andrew Watson is from the Mines Rescue Service in Fife. He joins us from our Dundee studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
When you're watching what's happening here, what are your thoughts?
My thought is that they're in a very, very difficult situation and they have a very hard decision to make, and they're doing the right thing. They're taking their time, and they'll take as much time as they possibly can before they make the decision. And I'm also listening to what they're saying about the weather forecast and the fact that more rain is coming, which might force them to make the decision at that time. But up until then, they need to rehearse, they need to practice, they need to try out the apparatus with the children, because it is, as I said, a very difficult situation, and a big decision is going to have to be made at some point.
Yeah, they've been in the cave for more than 10 days now, which actually affects things, doesn't it? If you've been away for so long or trapped for so long, you wonder how they will be mentally and physically.
Well, if you look at the ups and downs of where they are, they spent 9 days with no communication, not knowing what was happening in the outside world, and all of a sudden their hopes got raised because the divers have appeared. And again, hopefully, and I'm sure they are, the communication about the difficulties, even though they're talking with children, they need to be very clear about what the problems are. They need to be honest with them, and they need to be really explaining what the problems are. And they've got to balance that with keeping the children's morale up, that something is happening and something is going to happen.
And it looks like they may have to train some of these, quite young boys, because they can't swim, some of them.
And that, again, is where you're getting into this very, very difficult situation. If you look at training people just for ordinary breathing apparatus, you then have to take them into the situation they'll work in. Now, normally in the UK, using breathing apparatus is a last resort, and I would suggest that in the Thailand situation, the same will apply. They will use the breathing apparatus as a last resort. But these children are then going into the most extreme conditions. The water, the mud, the loss of visibility, the pressure the water would create.
I know you said, well, they should take their time and they should rehearse, and we believe that that's what they're doing at the moment. The difficulty is that you can't wait too long, because if the weather does turn, as we expect it to do, they may be forced to make a very quick move, and that might be a mistake, mightn't it?
It could possibly be, and again, hopefully, they're doing the rehearsing and doing the practice. And I noticed they've put an appeal out for face masks that would fit children, and again, they're going to use this breathing apparatus for quite some time to get them out of that. And it's making sure that the right gear fits, because if you fit the wrong gear, it will leak and it will reduce the safety factor within that. So again, they've got to get this right.
You must have been involved in many rescues in your time, but that moment of getting people out must be quite delicious, is it?
It's a fantastic feeling when you actually achieve something like that, and I'm sure that's what the end product of this will be, provided they do the planning and the assessment correctly.
Thank you for your time this morning, Andrew Watson from the Mines Rescue Service in Fife. It's 8:20.